Hello, old gun guy here. Going to do a video today on a kind of an iconic handgun, Colt Python. The one I have today here is mine. It's a second generation one. They started remaking in 2020. Um, the weather's been atrocious. It's been raining for 2 weeks, and then it stopped raining, and now it's 100 degrees out, and the water and the gnats and the bugs are unbelievable, and the humidity. So makes it hard to videoing out there between getting bit by the bugs and the sweat burning your eyes and so on. But I'll endeavor to put a video together today. I've shot it a little out of sequence, so I was out in summer yesterday. I was drenched in 20 minutes. Today's video, I go into the cartridge this pistol, this revolver is chambered in. It's a 357 Magnum, and I'll go into the revolver itself. In all these videos, the shooting part is in the middle, and the observations are at the end, and the history and the introduction is obviously in the beginning. The 357 Magnum cartridge is descended from the originally a 38 long Colt black powder cartridge, U.S. military cartridge, 1892. It was lengthened, and then I think initially loaded with a little bit of black powder for like 6 months, and then went to smokeless powder, but the 38 special. And it was lengthened from the 38 Colt to prevent higher pressure 38 special ammo being fired in the older revolvers. And then in 1935, they lengthened the 38 special case 1/10 of an inch and basically doubled the pressure and velocities obtainable, and it created the 357 Magnum. This was done as a response. There was a lot of competition between the two big handgun manufacturers, Colt and Smith & Wesson. Colt had introduced the 38 Super in a semi-auto pistol. It was pretty high performance for the time. Superior to the 9mm. 9mm is designed for smokeless powder from the get-go. That's why the cartridge cage is so small. The 357 has the large case from its lineage from the black powder era of the earlier cartridges. Like its name implies, it shoots projectiles 357 thousandths of an inch. So it's essentially nearly a 36 caliber, as 38 specials. Prior to the advent of the 357 Magnum, high velocity, high power, the handguns relied on large bullets and low velocity, low pressure rounds. It could only handle, the firearms and the metallurgy at the time could only handle much lower pressures. So the big, slow, heavy bullets was the way to go. When you look at all the cartridges from the time, say the 45 ACP, even that's low pressure cartridge, it operates about 19,000 to 21,000 PSI. The 45 Colt, people call it the long Colt, that's in the 14,000 PSI range. Big heavy bullet and very effective, and many others like that. The 357 Magnum come up with much higher velocities. Its original loading in 1935 was 158 grain lead semi-watt cutter bullet at 1,525 feet a second. That's hot for 158 grain load. And all the earlier 357 Magnums, even to like 30 or 40 years ago, the round by the factory was loaded a lot hotter than a lot of stuff you get today, unless you buy one of the boutique ammos like Buffalo Bore or Double Tap or one of them. Although Remington does load pretty hot loaded 357 loads. Useful bullet weights for the 357 Magnum are 110 to 200 grains. The heavier ones obviously would be for silhouette shooting. That's a competition discipline all on its own, or handgun hunting, 180 grain. Hunting type bullet. The lighter bullets are generally for either plinking or self-defense. The general velocities for the 357 Magnum, 125 grain bullets, you get 1,450 feet a second roughly out of a 4-inch barrel. the heavier 158 is about 1250. So I mean that's, and then the lighter 110s, you know, 1550. This is a 6-inch barrel revolver, this Colt, but we're going to that. The Python, first introduced in 1955, it was made for 50 years, 1955 to 2005, the first generation. I had purchased a 6-inch barrel Python. It was the first handgun I actually bought. I saved up for it and bought it. It was 1982. I paid $400 for it. I have the receipt. I don't have the handgun no more. I had the handgun for about 15 years, and I go into why I sold it. But I had basically, looked very similar to this, 6-inch barrel. I had a nickel-plated one, you know, high polished nickel. This is stainless. You know, it's polished too, but it's not as bright and shiny as the Colt nickel. And what did I pay in 1982? $400. If you do an inflation dollar calculator, $400 today is about $1,440. When this came out in 1955, the first generation, I think $125, 1955, and that translates to $1,500 today. So if you go adjust for inflation, so it was always a premium, expensive revolver. The 357 Magnum didn't really, even though it was introduced in the 30s, that was in the middle of the Great Depression. People couldn't afford, expensive handguns or much of anything. The cartridge started gaining traction after the Second World War was over, especially in the early 1950s. Became very popular. A lot of guns were built for it. Jeff Cooper, who was a very influential gun writer and firearms trainer, World War II vet of the latter half of the 20th century, called the Python the finest revolver ever made. So my experience with the earlier one, I had a nickel-plated one. The trigger was never as nice by a long shot to the second generation one. From the get-go, even when it was brand new, it had a little bit of creep and it broke clean, but it tended to stack at the end of the trigger pull, double action. Stacking means it gets heavier and heavier, and I never had a trigger pull gauge. It was definitely a lot heavier than the double action pull on my Python. The first generation Pythons are not built as heavily as the second gen. They added about an additional amount of steel and high grade stainless steel in this, although they are producing blued models now. I think they're carbon steel. But this is a lot stronger than the original. They put extra metal in the top strap and in the frame. And the gun weighs 48 ounces. That's pretty heavy. It's quite a heft. The earlier guns, and mine included, I shot a lot of 357 Magnum loads out of it. It tended to loosen up. The cylinder loosened up, and it was almost getting out of time when I decided to get rid of it. And I had it for 15 years, so 82 to like 97. I don't regret it because I didn't really enjoy shooting it. The trigger sucked. It got worse with age, and it started shaking. And I guess maybe from firing it. I mean, I took good care of it, cleaned everything. The nickel on that particular gun started to get a little bit of a yellow shading or tint to it, and I just didn't like it anymore. After they stopped making them in 2005, the prices went through the roof. It was like everything. Once they start making things, everybody gets nostalgic. Oh, I gotta have one of them. But I had no desire to have another one, especially when I see some of the prices. They're $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. Not to say they're beautiful guns, but when they reintroduced it, I was kind of skeptical in 2020. But I read a lot of good things about it, so I decided to buy one, and I think I paid $14.25 for this. So it's pretty much in line with inflation, and but I enjoy shooting this a lot better. It's got a very smooth trigger pull, breaks cleanly, no creep, no grit, no stacking. The single action is very clean. You know, I measured them with the trigger pull gauge. It's the double action is 10.5 pounds, and the single action is 5.5 pounds. I'll do the double action because I don't feel like pulling it twice, but set this to 0. Pull the double action. All right, what we got here? I'm sorry, 9.5 pounds. That's pretty good. So, but it's very smooth. The first generation, they had 3 barrel lengths, 6, 4, and I had a 6, and this is a 6. And they had 2.5 inch, and I think somewhere along its run they made a 3 inch, and then at one point they made a 8 inch and 357. Then they made a couple of model runs with just chambered for 38 special, and obviously 357 Magnum, you can fire 38 special. The 357 will not chamber in a 38 special revolver because it is longer, and that's by design. The second gen, all stainless steel. When they first introduced it, it was this in a 4.25 inch model, and I think they put the 4.25 inch because it has something to do with the law in Canada. They can't have handguns with less than 4.5 inch barrels, so that's Colt decided to do that. The first generation, they did make this in stainless, the first generation, but I think it was mid to late 80s. They had a run of them, and if you ever seen any of the blued ones, the Colt bluing and the finish is, you know, very good. Now, in all fairness, my first Python, I really shot the crap out of it. 38s, 357s, a lot of hot loaded 357s, because I used to, being younger, you know, I went to the max all the time. But accurate gun, fun gun to shoot, iconic gun, you know. It's what Rick carried in The Walking Dead. I think he had an actual first gen one, but iconic revolver. Some law enforcement agencies carried the Python. They issued the Python to, I think, Colorado and Florida, and there's a few others. You know, 357 Colt Python, so the agency's got them expensive handguns, and they are impressive looking, you know. The second gen, stronger. I shoot a lot of hot loaded Magnums out of this, and this gun does not, you know, it hasn't loosened up, and according to all the literature and everything I've read, you can fire thousands of full bore 357 Magnum ammunition. I got 4 kind of ammunitions I'm gonna shoot. I got some of this 38 special. Yeah, it's hand loads. It's 125 grain Berry bullets. They're just like a plated flat nose bullet. I had some old Versitle powder I loaded these with, and they're just plinking rounds, but as I know the chronograph results, they're actually pretty light loaded, velocity wise. It's actually surprised me, but they function fine for what I, you know, and they're plenty accurate enough for plinking. I have some classic. This is from the 1960s. This is Remington High Speed 357 Magnum loads. Might even be in the late 50s, but I had a whole box unfired. I mean, it's still in good shape. 158 grain lead semi-wad cutter, and that was before they come out a lot of the jacketed bullets. That's what ruled the roost there, the lead semi-wad cutter. I have empties in here because I fired some of these, so they light right off. You know, as old as they are, as long as it's stored right, they'll, you know, ammunition lasts a long time. This is at least 60 years old. This is early 60s. You know, I haven't seen these boxes in 50 years. 58 grain. I got some factory green and white box Remington 125 grain jacketed soft points. Gonna shoot some of them. They look like that, jacket with a soft lead tip on them. And I have some of my hand loads. They're 125 grain Hornady XTPs, hollow point, and they look like that. In fact, I'm gonna do the terminal effects test with this round. Just because I think in my earlier 357 video, on the Trooper, I think I used the jacketed soft points. Double action, single action revolver. You know, Colts. Viewed from the rear, the cylinder rotates clockwise. Smith & Wesson's counterclockwise. The Colt revolvers have a transfer bar system, firing pins in the frame, and a bar slides up and down, so you have to pull the trigger to access the firing pin to discharge the revolver. Big solid underlug under the entire barrel, and a very attractive vent rib on the top of the barrel. That's the trademark of the Pythons. And they have beefed up the steel and the amount of steel in the top strap and then the rest of the frame. Just for comparison, I got my 1977 vintage Colt Trooper, and they're basically made on the same frames, although with my eye up close I can see it's just the top strap's just a little thicker on a Python. But I think Colt called this the I-frame, but there are some differences. This one's made in 77. It's a 4-inch Colt Trooper, but you know, still has the same transfer bar ignition system. They're a very fine revolver too, these Troopers. Very unappreciated, underappreciated, I should say. But you know, Python's iconic. This is the original Colt nickel on this Trooper, the nickel plated finish. And actually, this finish is not held up. Has held up a lot better than my Pythons. My Pythons sort of, again, like I said, a yellow tinge to the nickel plating. The walnut grips on the Trooper, but the frame is basically the same, almost the same size. There's little small. I need a micrometer to actually measure the differences, but you can, you know, a little bit more heft than the Trooper. The Trooper's a pretty tough gun too. They made that for state police, hence the name Trooper. I'm gonna go through my shooting tests. I'll shoot some of these ammos, chronograph. I'm gonna do 2 shots apiece of the 4 different type ammos. I'll do an offhand accuracy test at about 25 yards. Like I said, the shooting conditions are horrible. As soon as you walk outside, it's instant Turkish bath. I'll shoot some steel plates, do comparative recoil, velocity, accuracy. I'll try one accuracy test resting too, off something, you know, 25, 30 yards away. Just to take me out of the picture. Like I said, with the sweat pouring and the bugs biting you, it's not conducive to precision shooting. And the gun's capable of shooting pretty accurate groups and at distance, as long as you do your part. Some days I can't do my part. Old eyes and iron sights, but I do a terminal effects test. So I do the water jug, 3/4 inch plywood water jug. You know, I'm gonna use the 125 grain XTP, and this is pretty hot. I've shot this before. I generally averages about 1,600 feet a second. Magnum H110 is the powder. Yeah, it's max load in 2 of the hand loading manuals. So you know, if you look, whatever hand loading manual you pick, you'll find a max load in there. Like I said, hand loading is kind of an art and a science. You got to be very careful what you do. You don't want to damage a fine gun like this or hurt yourself. And to the accuracy test, I shoot some steel plates. I shoot the ballistic pendulums, 22 long rifle versus the 357 Magnum on the plates. compare the recoil close up on a 22 pistol versus a Magnum. I might even make a separate short for that and do the accuracy test, and then I'll come back for a recap of what we observed and throw this little video out. And I'll probably do a rifle video next time, as long as the weather cooperates. I'm not going to go out in the woods with all the water and the sun. It's amazing how many bugs just come out of the woods. Gnats and no-see-ums and mosquitoes and every other thing. So until the sun dries some of this water out, and plus the heat, it's going to be 101 today. It's ridiculous. But that's it. I'll get to the shooting part and I'll come back for the summary. Just a quick velocity comparison. I got 4 kinds of ammunition. I'm going to fire at this 2018 circa second generation Colt Python, stainless steel, 6-inch barrel. 2 will be hand loads, 2 will be factory loads. The 2 factory loads are going to be Remington, this green and white box, 125 grain jacketed saw point. Then I'm going to shoot some 60-year-old Remington 357 Magnum high speed, 158 grain lead semi-wad cutter, lead bullet, no jacket. Looks like that. And the first rounds are going to be these 38 special hand loads. Berry bullets, 125 grain jacketed flat point. Versitle N320, 4.8 grains if you're interested in the load. It's like a standard load, same bullet weight as the 2 factory loads. We're all going to be 125s we're firing today. And this is a pretty warm hand load, 125 grain Hornady XTP, jacketed hollow point. And it's a max load for this gun, so I'm not going to really give the info out, but it's H110 powder, and you can consult the manual for yourself. It's safe in this gun though. It doesn't exceed what is in the manual too. It's a max load. I'm just going to do 2 shots a piece, just to get a baseline. And first up will be 38. Then I'll do the 60-year-old Remington 357 158 grain lead semi-wide cutters. Then I'll do the the other Remington factory load, and last up will be the 125 grain hand loads. So I got the chronograph running. I got set the other camera running. 2 shots of the 38, and the Colt, as viewed from the rear, has clockwise cylinder rotation. Make sure I put the thing here. Something wrong there. .732 is more like it. The first one read 587. That's got to be an error. Let me try another shot. .625. Well, they're pretty light loaded. All right, let me change the string. Next up is going to be 2 shots of this classic Remington here. And get it out of the styrofoam. All right, that's what that looks like. 158 grain lead semi-wad cutter. 2 shots. Oh, gotta pause, it just lost the sun. Okay, the sun's back out. Next up is the 158 grain 60-year-old Remington high speed, 158 grain lead semi-wad cutter. 2 shots. $13.73. It's pretty warm. $12.58. Oh. You know what? I'm gonna try one more. $12.22. All right. Change the string. Next up, 125 grain jacketed soft point Remington. Factory load, a green and white box. 125 grain jacketed soft point. $16.17. $16.17 again. Have to do another shot. All right, one more. $16.43. That's pretty damn hot. So now before the next cloud dips in here, these are my hand loads. These are 125 grain Hornady XTP. Shit. Up, change the string. Gonna pause it again. Lost the sunlight. Okay, the sun's back. 2 shots of my hand loads. 125 grain Hornady XTP. $16.43. $15.81 it looks like. And that's our little velocity comparison with different ammos. Obviously with a 357 Magnum, you can fire 38s in them. One-way convertible up, not the other way around. Might go to the accuracy test offhand. 25 yards. I gotta set that up with a target and come back for that. Something wrong there. $7.32 is more like it. The first one read 587. That's got to be an error. Let me try another shot. $6.25. Well, they're pretty light loaded. $13.73. It's pretty warm. $12.58. Ah. You know what? I'm gonna try one more. $12.22. All right. Change the string. Soft point. $16.17. $16.17 again. Have to do another shot. $16.43. It's pretty damn hot. So my hand loads. 125 grain Hornady XTP. $16.43. 1581 it looks like. And that's our okay, gonna do my comparative recoil test. The baseline is always a Ruger Mark II 22 long rifle semi-auto pistol. I get it loaded with two CCI 32 grain Stingers, and the 357, the Python, is going to be loaded with two 125 grain jacketed soft points Remington factory loads. 2 shots each, close up on the camera. Think I'm in there. Nothing. The Python. And that's a comparative recoil test. It's our 357 Magnum. Gun's getting quite warm. Okay, a little just comparative offhand accuracy test. 25 yards, a 6-inch Python. Top aiming point will be this 125 grain Remington jacketed soft points, green and white box. Second 5 will be my hand loads. They're 125 grain Hornady XTP jacketed soft point. All right, first up is the Remington, 5 shots, top aiming point. I'm going to do this single action as we're in target pistol mode here. Alright, that's the first 5. And the second 5 would be the 125 grain jacketed hollow point, Hornady XTP. This is a very warm hand load. Okay, bottom aiming point. Put out a little bit of a flame there. All right, let me pause the camera. We'll go down and look at the other target. All right, I'm going to do a rested accuracy test. I'm just going to rest it with this improvised rest on my knee. I'm going to do 3 3-shot groups. First group will be 38 special, 125 grain jacketed flat point, the berry bullets, hand load. The second group will be the middle aiming point, will be the 158 grain 60-year-old Remington 357 Magnum, 158 grain lead semi-wad cutter. And the last group will be 3, obviously I have to reload the cylinder, 3 Remington 125 JSP, factory ammo. So first will be the 38 on the top point. The middle point will be the Remington 357 classic loads. In 100-degree heat, I'm going to try and do this in the shade. And now the middle target with the 357 Magnum. Okay. Now the bottom group would be the 125 Remington factory. Actually, might have screwed that up. I think I aimed them all at the top. We'll see. Let's try the 3. I'll go for the bottom aiming point. And those Remingtons are a little warm. Okay, the 28 yards is, pretty good. The 38s are here. The Remington 60-year-old 357, 158 grade lead semi-wide cutters are here. And these are the Remington, the 125 jacket saw point. It's a good result. It's an accurate pistol. The offhand target, that's just me throwing the shots. Rained here for 2 weeks. Rain stopped, and now it's going to hit 100 today and 100 tomorrow. And the humidity is about 95%. So you get sweat run on my eyes and every other thing. I'm going to do a comparative energy test of ballistic pendulums. 22 long rifle, 357 Magnum. I'll probably use the classic Remington, two of them shots. One shot a piece, two shots a piece. 2 stingers from the 22 and 2 158 grain lead Magnum. Set up 2 long rifle, 2 CCI 32 grain stingers in the Ruger. Center plate, right plate will be 2 classic 60-year-old Remington 158 grain 357 Magnum lead semi-wad cutter. See the energy differences apparted. First up is the Ruger. That's 2. And now for the Python. I missed it. Swinging. You get the idea though, a lot of energy. I'm not going to expend it trying to hit it again. I didn't catch it on the swing, but a lot more energy obviously. That's our comparative ballistic pendulum test, comparative energy. See the energy differences apart. First up is the Ruger. That's 2. And now for the Python. Swinging. You get the idea though, a lot of energy. I'm not going to spend it trying to hit it again. I didn't catch it on the swing. All right. Got a cylinder load of 38s. I'm just going to do point of view style. Just plink some plates with it. For a python here. I'll get behind the camera and see how this works out. Try the first one single. Underneath. Right, there you go. Let's try the 50-yard torso. Hit the tree. Well, let's reload and try that again. Alright, I'm going to go double action. Let's try the torso. And that's better. I'm going to load one more. I'm going to try the 100-yard. Alright, I'll try hitting a 100-yard plate down there. I think I'm going under it. Maybe the 80-yard plate on the left down there. Yep, no problem. Ah, missed it swinging. Okay, that's our little point of view plinking with the python. Those are all 38 specials. I might try back further off the bench with the Magnums. We'll see. Go on to the next. Okay, terminal effects target. Got 5 water jugs. First water jug, 6 inches of water, 3/4 inch piece of plywood, and shot before it marked. Another 6 inches of water. The plywood simulates heavy bone. It's a witness board between the second and third jug. 2 pieces of 3/4 inch plywood side by side behind the third water jug. Then a 4th water jug behind it holding all the boards up. And we'll see what this 110 grain Hornady XTP doing about 1,600 feet a second out of this python does to them jugs. I believe I got the camera. Okay, camera's running. I think I'm in the shot. It's pretty dramatic. Let me pause this and clean it up. Okay, no projectile recovered. Went in there in the front, shredded the jug. 3/4 inch piece of plywood, blew right through. Went in there, come out the back. Second jug, entered here, traversed the left side, pulling to the left the bullet, come out there. Hit the witness board right there. And it missed the last piece of plywood. So went off into the woods. I'm going to, since I got a few extra water jugs, I'm going to try that again. I'm going to use the same round, the 125 XTP, and see if we can capture it. Previous videos with the 357, I did the 125 jacketed soft point, and we did recover that. But I'm going to set this up again, and we'll give it a shot. One more, I just got the 3 jugs there since I got the camera running. Try it again, see if I can hit it centered. Oh yeah, that was much better. All right. Okay, vaporize the first jug. Hit here, a little bit of jacket fragment here. Blew a hole right out the back of that 3/4 inch plywood. Second jug went in here, I believe, come out here. Bounced off the plywood, didn't really leave a mark, but it was laying on the ground right next to the table, and basically folded in on itself. 125 grain. That's good performance. But I was just curious to capture a projectile, so wiped out my water jugs. But going to the next demonstration. Okay, I'm back for my summary on my video here on a 2nd generation Colt Python 357 Magnum, the cartridge and the gun. 357 Magnum, very versatile cartridge. And a 357 Magnum revolver is very versatile because you can shoot the very light loaded 38 special all the way up to full bore Magnums, high performance. Did our shooting demonstrations in very bad conditions. Humidity is unbelievable, bugs and humidity. So did the chronograph. I had 4 ammunitions. I had some 38 special hand loads, 125 grain flat point berry bullets, I believe was a projectile. They were very light loaded. I never chronographed them before, but they were only pushing an average of 659 feet per second out of the Python with the 6-inch barrel. It translates to 121 foot-pounds of energy. Next up, I shot this 60-plus-year-old Remington high-speed 357 Magnum. This is actually the classic load that was introduced with, bullet type anyway, in 1935. It's 158 grain lead semi-wad cutter, and they must be very hard cast bullets because when you drive a lead bullet over 1,000 feet a second, you tend to let up the barrel badly, and these haven't let up the barrel at all. So I'm assuming it's a very hard cast bullet. I should actually did a terminal effects test with this out of curiosity, maybe next time. That round, 158 grain, the heaviest bullet, velocity averaged 1,315 feet a second, so it's still pretty warm, and 607 foot-pounds of energy. And then the green and white box of Remington, 125 grain jacketed soft point, basically an exposed lead tip projectile. These are all empties. Basically that's what that looks like. And they were pretty hot. I found the Remington, the UMC, I guess they would call it range ammo, it's loaded pretty hot. It averaged 1,628 feet a second. That's moving along out of that 6-inch barrel Python, and 736 foot-pounds of energy. And then I did my hand load, which was a 125 grain Hornady XTP hollow point. gets mixed in there. But that was, it's a max hand load, one of the hand loading manuals with H110 powder, Hagen 110 powder. Velocity is 1,581 feet a second, and the energy of foot-pounds was 694 feet a second. They were moving along. That's the one I did the terminal performance test with. You know, this heavy handgun, even with full power, it's 48 ounces, 48 or 46 ounces, 357 Magnum ammunition. The recoil is really not that bad at all. But I did a couple accuracy targets. I did one standing offhand from like 25 yards. I had sweat in my eyes, and it's on. I put both of them in a video, but my group was like this big and 25 yards. You know, it was all over the place. The two groups I shot. I've misplaced that target. Then I repeated it at 28 yards, but you know, resting a pistol off a rest, you know, on my knee. And you know, basically this was the 38 special. Obviously under better shooting conditions, I'd have that really tight. This was the, I think it was the 158 Remington, the classic 60-year-old stuff. And this was the 125 Remington factory modern stuff. Like I said, the gun probably shoots even tighter than that. That was just the conditions I was shooting, they weren't really conducive. Did the comparative recoil test, close up on a 22 pistol, Ruger Mark II, firing stingers with, I think I used the 158 grain lead. I forget, I have to look at the video, but you know, jumping back and forth. It was one of the 357 Magnum loads, but you can see the recoil is not that bad, firing one-handed. And I do a close-up so you can see the actual jolt to your hand. Did the ballistic pendulums. I missed the second shot on the 357, but you can see the shot, you know, imparting its energy compared to the 22, and that's all it's meant for, just, you know, a little bit of relative energy. Then I did this point of view thing where I have the camera on a tripod and I put my arms around the camera to shoot the steel plates. I missed a few. I connected with a few as soon as I settled down, and the gun is as accurate as you like it to be. It's really well constructed. In comparison to my original Generation 1 Python, this is head and shoulders above it, you know, performance-wise. It's got a nice heft to it, and you know, you blast the 357 full power loads at it all day long, you're not going to hurt it, which you will with the Gen 1 Python. Maybe not now that Colt's making these again. That the original Gen 1s will go back down into out of the stratosphere price-wise into something reasonable where, you know, average person can pick one up. You know, but I would, if I were to get one today, you know, I use one on a very good deal, say sub $1,000, because what's the collectability really? I mean, you know, there's different variants. I guess you can collect anything, and you know, it's a price to be paid for, you know, unusual things. But they made a lot of Pythons, and they're not all you know, pristine collectible, but a good shooter variant you got for under $1,000. You know, I would just feed it with 38 specials and just enjoy the gun. But you start banging around with magnums on them, and they do loosen up. This one doesn't. I probably put about, I don't know, 600 or 700 rounds of magnums, maybe 1,000 rounds of full bore 357 through this, and it holds up. It shoots well. Its main design purpose is a basically a target pistol, silhouette pistol. You can use it for handgun hunting. I wouldn't go beyond 50 yards with this, and proper bullet selection, one of the 180s or 190s or 200 grain, you know, hunting projectiles. And you can mount the scope to these guns. That would be advisable, you know, 2 or 3 power scope. Especially if you got old eyes, you want a precise shot placement on a, you know, on a deer or animal you're hunting. Did the terminal effects test, did 2 of them. I put both of them in there in the video. The first one I lost a bullet, but the effects are pretty much the same. Vaporized the first jug, the 125 grain Hornady XTP, and blew a nice hole through the plywood. That's 3/4 inch plywood right behind the first jug, and then ripped the hole, through the second jug of water. The first shot deviated, went off into the woods. The second shot hit the plywood I had set up after the second jug, ripped a hole through it, and it was laying on the table, on the floor, right on the ground, right next to the table. But that's what it looks like. Kind of folded in on itself. You see the petals all the way around. Good mushroom. And it was smacking the water at 1,600 feet a second. It held together pretty good. That's just the reloading component, Hornady XTP, nothing really exotic. I weighed it, retained, it was 125 grains when it started. It was 104 grains retained weight. So it retained 83% of its mass. And the maximum expansion was 0.549 thousandths of an inch, 549 thousandths of an inch, almost 55 caliber, from 35 to 55. So that's good performance. Make a very fine self-defense round against human bad guys, and it's really a good versatile round. It's a lot of fun shooting this gun. I got it basically as target, plinking, and nostalgia, because I had my original one was just like this, only it was nickel plated. And it's very well built. The trigger is very good on this. I like the trigger, double action and single action. It was far superior to my original Python, my Gen 1. Actually, this Colt Trooper I have, made in 1977, actually has a better trigger than my Python did, believe it or not. And they're basically made on the same frame, an I-frame, Colt calls them, but they beefed this one up slightly. And I could see a little difference in the top strap on the Trooper, a little thinner than the Python. And I believe the original Python, the frame is identical to this, size-wise and construction. And it's very hard to see without, actually measuring the dimensions. But one thing I noticed is this, the crane in front of the cylinder is actually a lot thicker than the Trooper. And my original Python was like that too, as I remember. It'd be nice to have it sitting here, for side by side, but it's a very sturdily constructed gun. And because I like older classic handguns, it'd be nice if the reintroduction of this drove the prices down to the older Pythons. And I think I'd get a blued one, but if I was going to shoot it, just shoot 38 specials in it, and it'll live all day long, for many years doing that. Put Magnums in it, I don't think it's going to last. Mine loosened up really good, and that's why I got rid of it. And the trigger sucked, and I know that would upset people. Oh, Python, but that was my personal experience. Those are just my opinions. The trigger pull, I did it in the introduction. It's 9.5 double action and 5.5 single action, and it breaks really clean. There's no creep, there's no stacking. Just lets off nice and clean. So nice clean trigger. What else? I did what I could with the shooting. The conditions were just too bad. This heat wave is supposed to break, and then maybe I'll do. My next video will be a little bit less punishing. But what can be said about this fine gun? I think I've said it all. It's if you're looking for one, you're not going to be disappointed. They're really well made, and I enjoy shooting mine. And it's nice to take it out and shoot it. And a lot of times I'll shoot the 38 specials out of it too. The light loaded stuff, just plinking. And these things are real light loaded, so these are real pleasant plinking. They're only doing 650 feet a second. So, but that was just a load I threw together quick because I had about half a pound of bit of a Torioy. I just want to get rid of it sitting there forever. Powder's probably 25 years old, so I get rid of it. And I'll burn it up shooting these the target loads. But I think I covered everything that I did. I think that'll be it for this video. I'm Old Gun Guy, and have a good afternoon.